Okay, looks like we're all set. So, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Engineering the Markets. My name is Jared. It is January 31st, 2023. Happy last day of January, and of course, happy Tuesday to everyone joining. So, we're kind of entering into a period of either preparation or a little bit of wait and see for a lot of the market as a whole. The S&P did pull back yesterday, so we are seeing, just in the short-term uptrend, I would call it daily pullback. We do also have some general trend line definition that's been building over time. You can kind of see this clearly on an hourly chart. Ever since we got that sharp sell-off back in, I want to say this is mid-January, and then we started to continue our uptrend, we can kind of see that there's been some significant drawdown in between some of our intraday sessions. And usually when we have this kind of price pattern, we talk about the concept of channels. Sometimes they also form sort of wedging type patterns, depending on how compressed the price is. And what I find kind of interesting today is not only that the market drew back down to that sort of all-important 400 level, but we're also back at our lower end channel, and we're seeing a little bit of a bounce back against it. So at least as far as the price is concerned, it does appear as if there's a little bit of profit taking in this region. But additionally, the bulls still technically have the trend. And that's what's kind of interesting for today's session. Usually we want to be trading with or have some sense of market overall posture, just making sure that we're not too long biased on a sort of selling day or shorting into the market's key or preliminary supports, just to make sure that we're not necessarily taken out of a trade too early before things start to actually work out in our favor. And for the most part, I think if you can understand how the S&P is trading, you can kind of get a sense of how particular stocks might trade that day, albeit some are definitely going to be more volatile or less volatile. This is mostly going to be true for the type of correlation we've been seeing as of late. Not every sector, I would say, is highly correlated. These particular weeks have been seeing much more rotation, where we see weakness in some sectors and much more strength in others. But all in all, if you're targeting stronger stocks or stronger sectors, and you have a strong sort of S&P and NASDAQ, those days are often some of the best advantageous type days, trending. They usually don't fight you on the way back down too much. And for the most part, if you can identify that early in the session, you can hold positions for most of the day, with the assumption that so long as you don't see any sort of significant sell-off, your stock will either outperform or just continue to lead in terms of performance on the session. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm looking at the S&P this morning in regards to our Tuesday session. Normally I would kind of break away from market index overview, but we are heading into a known catalyst this week. The FOMC meeting is starting today, and we will be seeing the results and the output from that meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern. So those unfamiliar, we do have our FOMC scheduled for 31st and 1st. We can also just pick out and see, has anything really changed with regards to the Fed fund rate projections? As far as yesterday or just today's data is concerned, pretty much markets in full agreement that the Fed is looking at a 25 point basis rate hike. There's a small, very small outlier case that we do see another 50-point rate hike, and that would be a sign that we're still seeing a fairly hawkish Federal Reserve, even though we're still looking at a target rate out in June and July of approximately 5 to 5.25. So, the speed to get us to that sort of terminal rate versus the market's expectation on the actual meeting, these are all going to be drivers of the price activity tomorrow. But as far as the probabilities are concerned, I would certainly be looking at the stronger probability to be the most likely, just simply playing the odds that the market is pricing. If we see a surprise, that is something where some of our expectations of price movement might breach. And that's really where things like the expected move on the week, something like a downside sell-off past 39.75, I'd only really expect that if there was some surprise inside of that particular announcement. It also doesn't mean that I'm necessarily bullish into it, because a lot of this data is known, and we are heading into some additional catalysts with regards to Apple, Alphabet, Amazon, and basically a lot of key underlying earnings. Even today, we have the likes of McDonald's, UPS, Caterpillar, and AMD later this afternoon. So there's a lot of binary risk going on right now. Having the SPX expected move at least gives us a sense of total index price movement volatility. And even if I'm playing into something like the FOMC, I'd want to target one of these two levels, or particularly both of them, in any sort of catalyst-based trade. So similar to an earnings event, something as simple as playing butterfly type structures at these levels and trying to essentially not determine which way the market is more likely to trade, but often just looking at, well, if it does hit one of these levels, is there a way to take advantage of that type of volatility? And there's a bunch of ways you can construct butterflies in order to do this. Some cheaper ways are just the symmetric butterflies targeting the expected move. You can see here, assuming the market opens around this price, very likely to get something like $5 wides or $10 wide butterflies targeting the expected moves. I have to look here, 41.65. Oh yeah, that's actually a little too, I'm in the wrong series, no wonder. I chose the wrong series, apologies. So, 39.75, you'd be looking to sell or pin that particular price. You'd be buying some spread construction around it, usually just to cap out the unknown risk and also to create the vertical for profit. Here's just a 10-point wide vertical, long and short, therefore butterfly, and it's targeting a particular price. If the market were to whipsaw or kind of move through these levels into tomorrow's session or into even Friday, assuming that we kind of continue to trade at these levels, this particular spread would expand in premium. And for the most part, you should be able to open these under about $1 premium. So getting some exposure like this is essentially saying that the market's pricing the volatility correctly, but it's also going to at least test one of those sides. And of course, because you're playing both sides, you would often want one of those butterflies to hit and pay for the risk of opening both sides. So 41.65 would be the second one. I don't think I can open 6 on this platform. So we'll do now. Now these are kind of like cheap ways in order to have exposure into the FOMC. You're using price levels that, as far as the SPX is concerned, are deemed fair on the beginning of the week. And because you're not really biased in one way or the other, having one of these hit should be able to basically pay for both sides of exposure, along with potentially, we've seen some FOMC reactions that are volatile in both directions. This is usually going to come back in the May and June time, or I think it was early May timeframe, somewhere in this period, where we were seeing large sort of rallies on FOMC announcement, and then the following day there was a much larger sell-off. So at times, both sides of this construction could be met, and you could actually see profit on both sides of the spread, assuming you're closing out one side as it's hitting the target. I think it was this period here. I'd have to double check my notes, but you can kind of see how there, at least in this week, there was a run up to the top end of the expected move, this sort of red line. And then Thursday and Friday, we started to sell back down. Arguable whether the lower end would have hit, but you could see that's kind of the thesis behind a fairly volatile but known target type of week, one where we're trying to get to just our expected move boundaries. So some different ways to kind of consider stepping into FOMC, but all in all, I think both today and into maybe some of tomorrow's trade, it's going to be mostly based around earnings reactions, which of course we've got names like Caterpillar. That would be one to maybe focus in on today. At a glance, looks like there's a bearish reaction to the earnings. How bad is that reaction relative to the expected move? Caterpillar closed at 261, 262. The lowest print was around 249, but it looks like they're bouncing back to 255. And remember, we have about a $12 to $13 expected move in total. So, once again, not necessarily betting on the direction of the move, but just knowing how volatile it can be. And if you're experiencing or playing counter that type of reaction, knowing some of these price levels kind of helps with that timing. Like a 250 would have been right at the boundary of a $12.50 expected move. Therefore, seeing a bounce there shouldn't surprise you. It's essentially the market saying this is where all the risk was, and we're not ready to sell through it yet. So this is staying inside of that boundary. Very common for earnings. McDonald's, looks like we're getting, I have 2 earnings conferences marked, so I'm not sure if all the volatility is done. But, similar to Caterpillar, let's take a look at its expected move. It's about 270 on yesterday's close. The option market as of the end of the week was pricing about $8 to $9. And it looks like at the lowest prints, we're getting about 263. So that one's a little bit under what I would have expected like the extremes to be. The top end looks pretty close, because if we close at 271, we got about $7 of upside, almost $7 of downside, just relative to your previous day close. And what I like about this is you can kind of see how there's advantage and disadvantage on both ends of this chart. If you're early to these trades, there's nothing wrong thinking that a bull could kind of step in and catch that quick move to the upside, even on a very short time frame. But remember, if it does top out there, the symmetry of that sell-off is kind of based around the expected move. Usually we would go ahead and just mark those boundaries, indicating that if the price runs into those levels and stalls, the risk then becomes that it kind of collapses back to the close, stays elevated, but no more upside. And then, of course, in the worst case, it actually counters it. You know, for McDonald's in particular, it looks like the earnings call, looks like there's a sell-off into the earnings call. So just some notes about how earnings are being responded to as far as price is concerned. It does appear as if there's a lot of respect to expected move, and we really haven't seen too many breaches of expected move, barring end of week breaches. The one example that was kind of most prevalent last week was Tesla. The actual earnings reaction was within the boundary of the expected move, but on Friday, a lot of that risk got exacerbated to the upside, and that kind of provided like a gamma related event, sort of a gamma squeeze, gamma hedging kind of breakout on Tesla. A lot of that is being given back, of course, now that we're starting to see the pullback in the market. You know, Tesla is one of those names where things can look amazing on one day, and then the next day they give pretty much all of the session back. So it kind of changes the perspective of how bullish was it on that particular day. So those are a couple of notes, couple earnings. I would also like to see how UPS is performing into its earnings. For now, no real price clarity. It looks like there's a slight beat on earnings. I'd have to look into some of their outlook. But UPS is expecting about $10 of expected movement from yesterday's close. So it looks like right now there's room for UPS to move around, but because it hasn't showcased any of that volatility, it's also going to be hard to figure out which side it wants to run to. You know, at a glance, I can kind of see 185 and 190 would be some great bullish targets that would fit perfectly with the expected move. There's not too much downside expected on UPS, but there was some hedging taking place at 165. There's almost like a bundle of open interest here. So that would be something to maybe look for a technical breakdown or technical breakout and see if we can run to one of those levels. You can tell though UPS's chart is very compressed just in what it's been doing over the past couple of months. I mean, there's almost no volatility here, so one would expect that this would be a trigger for something. So far, no dice. So keep an eye on UPS. This could be one that's kind of like hiding in the background, and we might see some reaction in the next couple days. Price normally doesn't get that tight around moving averages and just around price levels in general unless there's a big event about to take place. And you know, just kind of watching for which side gets chosen, that would be worth the opportunity, or at least worth the attempt to give that a shot. So those are our earnings. Nothing too crazy, but you definitely want to have maybe Caterpillar and McDonald's on your list, barring there's not a ton of volatility today. The things that I'm kind of paying attention to into FOMC, you know, the preparation of what is often a very significant market event, things like the dollar, which for the most part we've been scouting where to expect bounces. We're still in a very clear sort of downtrend, but I think the oversold nature here is starting to really take effect. And we'll be looking to see if one of these kind of historical regions acts as the weekly bounce and monthly support for the time being. One could argue that a weekly bounce is almost in formation, as we can kind of see. Last week was a relatively tight and small spread type of week. Just getting over this particular high and then closing above would indicate that a weekly bounce is underway. And for the most part, since we're in a downtrend, we just kind of look to see what would be the most obvious bounce level. Something as simple as a rally back to previous bounce points and previous high lows would be worth targeting for a lot of traders. Not only would this be a little bit of downward pressure on the market, during that period, things might get a little bit tricky to play to the upside. But I think if you're also looking at some of the metals, be a little careful on these particular pullbacks. Strength begets more strength. Trends are often hard to fight. But I would argue that some of these metals, depending on the reaction in gold, are still highly inversely correlated. So the type of sell-off, even if it's temporary, could be more violent than expected. The thing that I don't like about the gold chart, for example, is as it was rallying, it was kind of getting a little price divergent. And on this breakout, we're getting into an area that, at least for the weekly time frame, is not a great buy point. We don't really even know what a weekly pullback looks like yet on gold. So that's kind of the initial fear of how deep could a retracement be if something as simple as the dollar starts to pick back up. That's going to be true on silver as well, but you can kind of tell that silver's been struggling for a period, and barring any significant drawdown in the gold chart, I would expect silver to retrace probably back to some of its previous breakout levels. So there's an element of risk in this market that I think is building. The thing that is keeping us cognizant of the trend is we're not breaking it. As long as we kind of maintain these channels, if we, for the most part, stay above the 200-day moving average, just that bull trap scenario that we saw back in November and December, as long as those elements remain true, there's a bit of a bias to the bull side. But I also think things are at extremes. Here's the NASDAQ chart, for example, and you're going to see this on a lot of tickers. There's a reason why we mark highs and lows. It's because when price gets there, it often responds. And, once again, this is a very obvious level for the NASDAQ to pull back from. It's just the high back in December, and it's the 200-day moving average. So we not only have a little bit of confluence here, but it's the idea that things don't just run straight into resistance and break out from them. That's not common. We often want a little bit of a preliminary setup as we're testing it or after we're testing it, and then that allows us to usually get outside. Or in the case of ranges, this could be intact for a while. We know there is a case here that the NASDAQ is simply trading in this price range. It's hard for us to tell whether we're going to be outside of it anytime soon. So one of the things that's kind of characteristic here is you don't have to be long or you don't have to enter long, but you need to protect. And that can be done through hedging behavior. That can be done through profit taking. That can simply be done by stepping away from the market until more information is gathered. And that's kind of one of the easiest things to do, is remaining in a sort of cash healthy position in order to either deploy trades or take that little bit of a bet that this might end the particular rally that we're on. Just even if it's temporary, the type of downside against these levels is usually pretty high. And as I mentioned, there's a few charts that look like this. You talk about one of the leaders over the past couple of weeks. It's been Meta. Meta has gained significantly since bottoming last November, but even more so just the beginning of the year. If I look at how Meta started, it actually started on a breakaway gap. And this has been essentially a full month of performance of about 25%. That might not seem like a lot for a full month of trade, but remember, Meta is still technically in sort of like the top 20 of market caps across some of the indices. And you combine that with some of the communication performance, similar, most of it starting near the beginning of the year. These are 25, 26% gainers on market cap names that matter. They're the ones that not only from a breadth perspective provide bullish characteristics to the S&P, but they also are running into their earnings. So it's almost as if they have a lot of tailwind in their favor, but we know earnings can change that. That's kind of the linchpin of what we're about to hit. So be on guard, be careful with these particular names, especially now that things are pretty much where we expected them to go. Even if you're the most keen technician, one would argue that this low, this high, the most you can say is that we could retest that high. But afterwards, it's kind of a big question mark. Are we truly ready to break out? Or are we coming back into range for another week or two, another month? Is this another top? That's kind of another big bearish argument that's going on right now. We'll talk about that a bit more tomorrow. We'll look at some of the 1973 and 2001 charts, which, like most market participants, they're being used as corollary to what sort of price action we have today. So a little bit of a scattered session. I think, I kind of apologize. I wasn't as prepared for today's session as I should have been, but the keys are quite simple. If you want to play into FOMC in the next couple of sessions, you can either be waiting for that event. Type FOMC. You can be waiting for that event, or you can start to look at some of the expected moves. These are weekly expected moves. You can play the actual Wednesday expected move on the SPX or the SPY. And really, you're just not really concerned with direction. You're concerned with volatility. How wide does this reaction have to be, both on Wednesday and into Friday, sort of the end of the week close, the finish of the entire week. I see a little bit of risk in the dollar, and I see a little bit of risk of if the bond market is sort of under predicting what the Fed's terminal rate happens to be. This would be the short-term sort of treasury bills. That could spark some very, I would say, wild volatility. Simply just saying that the probabilities are off. Any adjustments there, or especially if the Fed does come out with a surprise, that would basically open the door for new trade. And then watch out for the metals because of their correlation with the gold dollar chart, and be targeting sectors that are maybe a little bit overbought. I'm really not against the idea of like a short-term fade type trade in the strongest sectors, especially once we get past earnings, because they've hit targets that are categorically the tops of this marketplace. Anytime we're seeing declining 200 periods and rejection, those often mark significant sell points. And as a bull and as a bear, it's good to know these levels ahead of time. So I guess that's pretty much it for today. I'll have a little bit more trade content for tomorrow, and then of course we'll prepare more for the FOMC. Stay tuned for pre-market prep. Have a wonderful trade session, and we'll talk more then.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the pre-market prep. I hope everyone's having an amazing morning. Hopefully, you guys had an incredible day yesterday. Good morning, Norm. How you doing today? Oh, I don't have audio. I'm Norm. Let me make
Good
sure you
morning,
should hear me.
brother.
Oh, there
My
you are.
apologies.
Perfect. No, no worries. No worries. Um, all right. Good morning, guys. We have numbers coming out, right?
No,
Oh,
not
why is the
really.
SPY moving like that?
Yeah,
Any
we
news?
we just had a number that is rarely ever looked at, but comes to importance now. That's the employment cost index. That was at 8:30, so
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
got things a little bit, I guess. Came in a little bit weaker than expected, which is good, as we know. Part of the price of inflation has been labor wage inflation that's been going up. So I guess that helps out a little bit, but we don't have any more numbers dropping until 9 a.m. So if you want to
Yeah.
get into
Yep.
yesterday's plays, we can do that and then
Yeah.
discuss the numbers coming out in a little bit.
Yeah, perfect, man. Guys, let's get into some of the stuff that we had in play yesterday, and what a day it was. My first top three were horrible. Lucid. Let's bring it over here. I had here we go. Again, you didn't really need these guys, but they were compared. And I say horrible compared to the stuff I'm gonna show you next. So there's Lucid. There's Billy. Again, rough start. Did get better. Later after 11, had a beautiful breakout here back towards the high of the day, and then some. So again, that turned out pretty nice as far as if you're patient waiting here. Baba also was very very choppy, so not much going on there. But then the next four here are just incredible. Starting with Nvidia, a lot of indecision, and this is a great when you have this kind of back and forth action, just kind of playing around the moving averages. This is great to just sit and wait and see which way we're going to break here. And if you're patient enough, you notice that, okay, we keep going down here. We're making lower highs. We're still slamming against the low of the day. That is a great indication this thing wants to be weak and head south. Sorry, I'm actually showing you guys the wrong screen. I'm drawing in a different screen where you guys are not seeing what I'm doing. So let me go to that on the 5 minute here. Here we go. NVIDIA, and then right over here. Excellent. So right here, guys, again, not much going on, sideways action, but then slowly you start getting higher lows, slamming into the low of the day. And what a beautiful indication to play for sure off the VWAP, right? The VWAP and the moving averages. And then you get a nice drop, guys, on NVIDIA. Comes back, tests the 20, never breaks out of the 20, which is a great sign. And then another leg down. So again, pretty good stuff there on Nvidia. Tesla was just incredible. I think Norm is still short. Feels like from like last week now. He had an incredible short from, I believe it was 179, right?
79.80.
Oh, man. At the market open, look at the drop you get here. And then I know I was listening in. I think you took a long here, right? Somewhere in here. You took a reversal on this or no?
Yeah, it was just it was from 168, 160, 168.50, 169ish. Got a couple of bucks on it. Was pretty
Mm-hmm.
much just a scalp.
Yeah, because you could tell it was really extended here. You knew you were going to get some kind of reversal, and that
Yeah.
reversal turned out pretty nice to them, almost the VWAP, almost the VWAP. So again, pretty predictable there. But again, man, nice trade yesterday on both sides of the field. And again, Tesla continues to just amaze us here with their great trading activity in the intraday. And we'll see some action today again. Again, 3.2 million already and cranking here. So that looking very nice. Amazon also was very good, guys. Here gave you a little bit of a fake out and then had this beautiful drop, loses the low of the day all the way down to 99 again around 10:30, 11. Does find a base here that shoots right back up to the VWAP. Does not drop back down like Tesla. This one actually holds and is able to almost get you towards the high of the day, but does struggle there. So again, very active, open first half of the day. The second half, pretty much didn't do anything, just sideways. And then Meta, same thing, a little struggle like many stocks did at the beginning. That first 30 minutes was a little bit rough. And then you can see here the nice drop we got on Meta as well. So many things you could have watched yesterday. Actually, my first three were not great, but the usual suspects that we had on deck did very good for us on yesterday. Here, guys, we have our stocks for today on the gap down and gap up quite a bit this morning, looking in the green. What,
Quite a
216?
bit till you actually look at them.
Yeah, 219 percent. Can't wait to see that.
Low float.
MSGM.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. Not to be confused with Madison Square Garden here in New York, guys. That is something completely different. So we got some tickers here. We'll see what's going on there. And then towards the downside, I actually like some here like MU, looking to see what's happening there. The TSM could be interesting with a lot of semis reporting in this week. So we'll see what's happening there. All right, guys. With that said, we'll go to news at around 9, if that's okay, Norm. And this way we can go over the numbers then, unless you want to do it now.
Yeah, let's go through it now.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. All right. So at 9, we have the home price indices, Case-Shiller, S&P Case-Shiller at 9 o'clock, and also FHFA. So might get something out of there. Home market slowing, obviously. 9:45 Chicago Business Barometer. 10 a.m. Consumer confidence. It's probably the biggest number of the day that's still out there. See how the consumer's feeling, and then the rental vacancy rate at 10 as well. The FOMC does begin their meeting today. Of course, it's behind closed doors. It's a 2-day meeting. They come out with their policy announcement tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. That announcement is, people have it as almost guaranteed as a 1/4 point hike. We'll see, which is, I guess, trying to get right in the middle of perfection there. They've been hiking by 3 basis points or 0.75% each time. So 1/4%, considerably lower than that, but it's still hiking in a circumstance where business is slowing down considerably. So we'll see what happens with that. That'll be tomorrow. And then, of course, 2:30 tomorrow, they will have the Jerome Powell press conference. And he'll get into that and answer questions. So we'll see. A lot of times we have these days with these FOMC meetings, and it gets a little choppy. Nobody really wants to take any big positions before we get to that number. We'll see how we play out over the next couple of days.
All right, excellent. All right, guys, let's get to our list today. We're gonna go ahead and remove the stuff from yesterday. Control A, Control X takes care of that. And let's see what we have here, starting with MSGM. And this thing, Motorsports Game here, very low flow stock, sitting at 461,000. This thing is up 212%. So, guys, it's just be extremely careful with this. This is bouncing around quite a bit. It is in play, but this is dangerous stuff to be playing around with if you do not know what you are doing. Even if you know what you're doing, there's still a level of risk that you got to be very careful with this thing. So definitely in play. Very, very careful. I'm going to put it on here, guys. Risky stock of the day. Extremely risky.
They had some corporate finance action, debt for equity exchange with their, I think it's their major funder. Anyway, at low float, probably won't be of interest to me, but
yeah. Very, very careful, guys. You see that this has been a former runner in the past year. You see it, man, with just 2 point. Man, that volume is scary, guys.
Yeah,
Just
it's
2.6. 2.6, and we went from 450, looks like, to 14.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
thinly traded. Be very
that
careful.
is dangerous, man. Very, very careful. Today actually looks better than that. We traded almost double the size of that, so it looks a little bit better than what that was. But be very careful. Spotify. Let's see what's happening here. So, oh man, look at this, up 10% this morning.
Yep.
Not a great trader, but looking good, Norm. What's going on
They had
there?
earnings this morning. As you said, this company's based in Luxembourg, and therefore you can almost guarantee it trades like garbage. Their earnings, their subs growth was better than expected, I believe, is what's popping it. But it just trades so bad, Carlos.
I know, man. And I tried trading this when it was a higher price, and I got killed every single time. I don't think, if I go back and look at my history, I don't think I ever made money on Spotify. So for those reasons, I don't add it to my list. I am going to put it as a possible because I know someone's going to show up a little bit later and mention it. So we'll look at it. Just for those that do like to trade this one, because I'm sure some people out there that this is like their bread and butter, this type of trading. But for Norm and I, no way. Let's take a look at GNS today. GNS. We've seen this. This has been on our list quite a bit. Horrible. No. Let's move on down to LAC. LAC. Was there any news on this one, Norm? If I There was one that had news.
On Genius?
Yeah, was it this one?
Not
No.
as of this morning.
Okay.
They had a spinoff. We discussed it yesterday, but this thing
Yeah.
trades terribly as well.
Yeah.
Lower
So
float, 10 million.
it's really all over
Sorry.
the place. Oh, no worries, man.
Give me just a moment. So, quick background. We've got ice storms going on. Thunder and my dog is going crazy. So give me just a minute. I'm going to take care of that. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries,
Or at
man.
least I'll try to take care of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was either that or he's thinking about, hey guys, don't trade that garbage GNS, as he's warning us there. Let's look at CVNA this morning, guys. So CVNA, we are up 8.5. Oh, Carvana, up 8.5. Had a last couple of days been doing some stuff here, right? I always say if this thing can get above 15, we might be onto something. Maybe it could be tradable, but not a big fan.
Memeing.
Oh, that's what it is.
This
Oh, yeah, if it's
company's in
memeing,
serious trouble, but
yeah, we need
it's
some
been
good
picked
news.
out as a meme stock, trading like a meme stock. Options orders going through like meme stock. I think they're picking on it because it's heavily shorted.
Yeah. See, I don't like that.
So just be very careful. It can move wildly.
Yep. Well, if this thing goes up, I want it to be on new so it can actually be playable, something we can actually sink our teeth to, but that's not good. LAC we looked at, not great, guys. This thing is up 8.7, 850,000. Again, it just looks very thin. And also take a look at the spread. Be very careful with that. It doesn't look good, so very careful with that. HKD, is this the wild one?
Yeah.
This is the one that hit 2,500 plus here. Just madness, like guys.
29 or something.
Run away from this thing. This is just nothing you want to have on deck. GM this morning. So GM with news, we're up 4.7. Norm, I know you don't like this ticker, but what's the latest and greatest on GM?
GM had earnings this morning. It's funny as they're popping up, they actually got a downgrade yesterday. So that analyst's not looking so sharp when 24 hours later they release earnings and then they pop on it. But yeah, they beat top and bottom lines, I believe, fairly substantially. We'll see how it plays out. It trades so bad, man. Yeah, I feel like it's a wasted decent earnings report on a garbage ticker.
Yeah, it's not a good one. I don't like the way it trades. Similar to kind of like Ford, they're just horrible type tickers. Riot is on here. They are up 4.4. I don't like this one. Let's see what Mara is doing. Once in a while, we get something out of this, and it looks like we're trying to get going here. 443,000. We're popping up quite a bit. 4.3 as well. Gonna look at coin because that's really the favorite out of all these three. If I'm gonna trade one, it will be coin. But coin not making as much noise as Mara is. So we'll do this. We'll put Mara as a possible for now, and then we'll come back to that, see if there's any action taking place today out of this move that we're seeing right now. So let's give it a little time to develop because it's just started to get going. Before 8:30 has not done much. So let's see. All right, gapping down this morning, we have MU. MU looks good today, guys, down 4.4. Again, pre-market action is not going to be at AMD pre-market action. But I think I'm going to put this one on my list today, Norm. Might be something here on MU. So we'll see. 518,000.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a few semiconductors reporting. They just started sprinkling in. MU reports notoriously late. Their earnings calendar does not match up with the normal quarters of the financial calendars of others. They should release probably at the end of March would be my guess. So anyway, but I think they're moving a little bit on the news coming out of the semiconductor space.
Yeah. Speaking of which, AMD today after hours, so that should be fun.
Peter will enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. PFE today. Let's take a look there. PFE is down 2.6. This stock has been getting killed the last couple of weeks here, so not having so much fun. Down to 40 from 50 and plus. So yeah, could be interesting. I don't like the way this thing trades. Any news, Norm, driving this down even further?
Yeah, they had earnings this morning and they're getting slammed. Part of the reason is because people don't want to take their shot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, people are. There's a lot of talks about this, and the stuff, the way they reported things with COVID, just a whole lot of going on there that's not putting them in the best positive light. So could be interesting, guys. I'm not a fan of PFE and the other companies that like this one. Let's put it as a possible. I do like the volume on it. I do like the drop. Don't get me wrong. I like this drop here. That's the fact that we're sitting at a close to
I
a
don't see
level
that as
of support.
actionable. You've
Yeah,
got
right.
very light volume. It just fell out of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah,
And I mean, so that's obviously when the actual earnings data came out. You can't act faster than the machines and be a part of that, really. And then
yeah,
it just
yeah,
chops around and does garbage. It's a terrible trading stock overall. I still stand by that
yeah,
3 years into the debacle that, you know,
yeah,
it's
yeah. It's
started
brutal.
popping
It's
up.
brutal. The only thing I see that I would like here, if it can lose some of this level here and flush down, it could be interesting. But again, you might find something that's going to trade better. You will find something that's going to trade better today. So we'll see. All right, GM announces 600 million investment.
Yes,
Oh,
that's what's
okay.
popping
Yep.
LAC.
Yep. LAC. Yeah, we have LAC here, although it doesn't look great, man. I gotta tell you, LAC. Not one of the stocks that we normally will watch, but that is big news. 650 million. That is big news. So maybe at the market open we can get some kind of pop here. But again, it doesn't look good right now. Lucid. What did it end up doing? So we sold off after this huge jump up here. I don't think any more news has come out to whether or this is happening or not. So just kind of moving sideways here. Again, it'll be difficult to play this one. You have to pay attention to what the news comes out. If there's more confirmation of this possible buy or whatever the Saudis are looking to do here with Lucid. So I'm going to keep it off my list now. TSM this morning, not looking so hot at the moment. And then Billy, let's take a look here. Billy was trash yesterday, man. They had an opportunity to do something, but nothing the entire morning into about 11 or so. But again, just didn't do a whole lot there. So today pre-market action looks actually worse than yesterday. So don't expect to have this one on deck this morning. All right, guys, only MU, but yeah, I know we're gonna. I see you guys already throwing out Tesla. We are gonna add Tesla, but only MU right now. Norm, anything you like on your end so far?
Everybody just stole my thunder. Of course, you
Mm.
could have guessed it. This has been the ticker in play recently.
Yeah, it's been the
Flavor of the
hot one.
month, if you will.
Absolutely. Tesla guys here down 1%. This thing is just on fire. Had a great sell off yesterday after a great run up, bullish run the day before. I mean, it's just giving you everything you could possibly want on this ticker. And the continuation, the last couple of days has been trading so clean, much better even than like 2 weeks ago. So very clean action on Tesla. You're not getting these crazy pullbacks that we were seeing about 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago. So that's nice to see. Tesla's on deck. Amazon, of course, and Nvidia are going to be on our list as well. Again, semis are heavily in play, especially now with a lot of them reporting, AMD and a few others. Here is Amazon. Amazon's day looks real nice, guys. Again, just holding here, been consolidating between this area 100 and it looks like 10, 102. So that is nice. Volume is okay. Yeah, let's add Amazon to the list here. Let's see if that can trade well today. Yesterday was okay. It took a bit to get going, but once it did, it was very clean. Nvidia was awesome yesterday and today already. You're seeing some good action and activity on it. HKD is popping, Roblox and more. Perfect name for to come up with HKD is popping, man. I want no parts of that. We'll look at it for entertainment purposes in just a second. HKD. Yeah, no. Very careful with that stuff, man. Nvidia here, guys. So I like this one. I like the daily. I'm gonna remove some of these levels to make this a little bit cleaner. But I like the way this is setting up here. Pretty nice. And AMD, AMD is one of those tickers that is gonna be in play tomorrow for sure. Today after hours and tomorrow for sure. But it's one of these tickers that even though it has earnings today, could actually do something today. Just because it is in play all the time, even when it doesn't have any news, is you can get something out of it. So I'm inclined to put AMD on our list today, maybe even as a possible. Vinny, Microsoft, I'm not a fan of. Anything exciting there? No, pretty quiet right now. NXP, don't get me wrong, I'm a fan when it has news. When it's just moving with the overall market, there's going to be better tickers for sure. NXPI, no. Amazon, we have very good. Dave from Connecticut giving us XOM. had earnings. Yep, XOM and Oxy. I like Oxy. I was looking at this with Hamish yesterday, and Oxy actually did pretty good. So Oxy actually traded very, very nice here for a short. Could be interesting today with XOM. I'll put as a possible. I'm not a big fan of XOM, but Oxy could be a good one for sympathy play today. MSGM, long, small size, NVIDIA. Careful. Here's Baba. Let's take a look. Baba this morning. No, Baba, it dropped here yesterday and it was so bad. It really just went sideways. Dropping again today, but unless we get some heavy volume towards a direction, it's going to be tough to trade. So it was, again, exceptionally bad yesterday, which I was not expecting that out of Baba because they can sell off so good, but you just didn't get that yesterday. So pre-market action, not looking all that good today. Could be a good one for the scanners, Michael, I think. Or if anyone is watching it this morning, please, say something if you see something happening that looks good. Sue's always giving us Baba as well. Why are all the Chinese tickers down? The same reason why they were all up a few weeks ago altogether, all down yesterday altogether. They just move. That whole sector moves altogether unless there's any specific news. Baba was the only one that really has broken out the last couple of months, has really done its own thing, man. If you look at any other tickers, Neo, Loose, any other tickers, they have not had the run that Baba has had from November. Just incredible. So coming back a little bit here today, we'll see if that's going to mean anything. Yeah, Jack, McDonald's does have earnings today. Actually, they had it already, but again, another one of these tickers. And what is their ticker? MCD. Yeah, that it just doesn't trade well, man. Doesn't trade well. It is a $265 stock. Only 200,000 shares traded. Run from this
I don't know
guy.
which is worse for you, their food or their ticker.
Oh, their ticker for sure. Their fries are decent. Their ticker's much, much bad. Much worse. It's brutal. So be very careful with this thing. Tinny says the food. Yeah,
I agree. I think the food's even worse.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the fries, I would definitely say that the food. That's the only thing we get. There's the fries. All right, what else, guys? Isn't just as a play, their earnings were great, but stock was way down in McDonald's. Yeah, they're down. They're down 2%. But again, it's not really for the way we trade. And again, I always want to specify because some people say, "Oh, just speak for yourself." Well, yeah, I'm speaking for myself. Actually, it's for the way I trade. We don't. If you trade differently, if you're swing trading, you're doing something else, it's a whole different type of animal, right? But if you listen to Jared every morning, he talks about McDonald's being a good indicator of how things are doing, right? So he was talking about that yesterday. So make sure you catch these episodes, guys. Engineering the Market at 8 a.m. every morning, and to kind of get an idea how you can use this to your advantage to maybe trade other stuff, right? So that could be helpful. All right, guys. Anything else on here? Anything else we're missing? Coin's coming up on the list now, so Coin is on there. Man, if you look at Coin, Mara, all heavily shorted. Carvana as well, 60%. Mara 44, Coin 27. Interesting. Let's see. Okay, perfect, guys. Baba on main. Where's Baba? Did we look? Yeah, we did look at Baba. Yeah, I'm not sure for today. I'll have to wait to see a little more on it. Last one, but not least, let's look at Apple, and then we'll head over to community events and announcements. Apple this morning. Yeah, one of our usual suspects. I mean, it's not doing a whole lot right now, but that could change. That could change depending on how our friend over here is going to be doing the SPY. Yeah, it's just kind of doing the overall market stuff here for Apple. So depending how the SPY does, Apple is gonna most likely follow suit there. All right, excellent. Let's get over to community events, guys, and we'll come back and fine tune this list.
Absolutely. Every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, join Carlos with Onboarding and Technology. That is especially for newer traders and open to everybody, so be sure to check that out. On Tuesday, we have strategy. Tonight, we have Megan, 8 p.m. Eastern, talking about optimizing your performance to reach your trading goals. And then next week, we will have Brian talking about trading the open and what he's looking for when he trades the open. Wednesday, psychology. Tomorrow night, Dr. Kenneth Reed talking about the book Best Loser Wins and breaking that down. And then the following week, 5 p.m. Noter Special Time, Credo will be talking about how to identify your deepest fears in trading and overcoming them. So be sure to check her out as well. Thursdays, we have mentorship. It's 11 a.m. with John and 8 p.m. with Thor. And then tradingterminal.com, where we are building out one-stop shop for trading resources for active traders, everything from the replay simulator to scanners, everything in between, tools that traders spend thousands of dollars a year on for free for you. So be sure to check that out. Also, the insider section that we just added. San Diego, March 2nd and 3rd. Come see us at the Live Trading Summit. An awesome 2-day event. Grab your tickets now. You can also bring family, bring them to the dinner on the first night, even if they're not a trader and interested in that. So that's at bearabletraders.com/workshop. And then still, guys, this is about over. The winter half off sale, that includes free DAS if you get it this morning for 3 months. The simulator, that is, free DAS simulator for 3 months. We did that over the weekend. One last little push. Anybody signs up this morning, they'll still get that. But half off, use the promo code WINNER50. And if you'd like to check out the chat room, you haven't been in, use the promo code PreMarket34 to get a discount off the intro membership, which is 7 calendar days, 5 trading days in the room, only bills you once. Does not recur.
All right. Thank you very much, Norm. Okay. Excellent, guys. 9 a.m. Let's take a look at some of the stuff we have here. We have MU, Tesla, Amazon, NVIDIA, AMD, and Apple so far. So that's looking pretty good there. Not a blockbuster type open yet, but we know how this market has been. It can definitely change here. So let's do some levels, my friends. Let's go over to MU. We'll start there. So MU at the moment, low of the pre-market, looking at a 58.62. Towards the top, we're looking at a 60.98, and then towards the bottom, we're looking at a 56 down here. Looks good as well. I don't know if MU is going to give you this type of move. It did. It's doing better, right? It had a couple of days here where actually you're getting a larger move, so that's good. Today already has dropped down a lot, so again, it's to expect it to go lower, much lower. It's going to be a difficult one for MU. Again, takes us back to when MU used to be one of our big usual suspects, man. And now it's barely on the list here. AMD has taken that spot. They kind of switch rows. So we got some levels here: 60.98, 60.30, 15, 58.64, 57 towards the bottom. You got a little bit of a nice range going on here. MU doesn't move a whole lot, but today I like their volume. I like the fact that they're down 4%. Definitely different than what they're used to doing. Here's Tesla, not looking so hot pre-market right now with this whatever it's trying to do here. We're just getting spoiled.
Yeah,
We're used
Tesla
to
looks terrible this morning.
yeah, we're getting spoiled, Norm. That's what it is. We're used to seeing
Well,
Tesla.
there's somebody selling at 165, and they're just sitting there. They're not putting big orders on the book, but
Yeah.
once it's gotten up to 165 and it's hitting the ask, orders are just churning through, and nothing's happening, and it's only
Yeah.
showing a small amount of shares available. So somebody's selling at 165. We'll see what happens once that pressure alleviates, once they can burn through those orders.
Yeah, this is the
If it happens.
This is the pre-market from the day before on the 27th of trading. Here's the yesterday. We also had an amazing pre-market activity. I mean, if you look at the pre-market activities we've seen on, well, you know for sure because you traded it yesterday. Here it is. Just beautiful pre-market action. Today, definitely much different. As you mentioned here, some selling happening at some of these levels. So we got a bit of a war going on here. Still good one for today because we know once that settles out, someone's going to have to win that war eventually, and we can take advantage of it. Let's see here. We are looking at 163.52 is the low of the pre-market. This level where we're battling right now, worth marking down, guys. 165. Definitely want to have that on the list. You could tell all pre-market, this has been an area of interest for Tesla. Would not be surprised if throughout the day we we flirt around with that number there. High of the pre-market, we're looking at 165.90. We will slam another level there. And then once you do that, I mean, you're just here, this 165, a big area of support, resistance. Also going back, you see that there in November and December as well. It just has been an overall area of interest for Tesla. So I think you're pretty much set here on levels. Let's see if we can break out of this range. If you look at the high of the pre-market, low of the pre-market, we're almost smack in the middle of that range right now. So let's see if we can break out of that range. That can be some fun there. Amazon, very interesting daily, guys. Look at this pop we had. Struggled to get above this. Had a huge gap down here and recover the same day. We recovered the gap down. Just nice. And then here we broke out of 100. And now we're just kind of building a new range at the moment. High of the pre-market, we're looking at 101.50. So that looks good there. We got some highs from the last 2 trading days towards the top that we can get to. That also no surprise. We've seen that being tested before back here in November. And there's no major level in between this high of the pre-market and this what is this? This is going to be 103 that we're looking at, 103.56. Let's zoom in here. Let's zoom in. Maybe this is a very small, guys, level, very minor level. Don't put too much weight on that. But I'm going to mark down 102.30 on there, just to have something in case we do get a nice breakout today on Amazon. Bringing this into focus for what's happening now, I think you're pretty much set because you have the levels all over this area surrounding the price action. So you're pretty much set as far as that goes. Nvidia, guys, look at Nvidia. Pre-market action looking very nice, especially after A becoming very active, trying to push up against the previous day close. We're going to mark down our low of our pre-market over at 187.65. Below that, we do have a small level here at 185.83. And I think that's all you need for right now. And then towards the top, if you look at this, pretty much your high of your pre-market is going to be the previous day close shortly. So that's all set for you there. And then above that, you have your highs and lows for the last 2 trading days, which are doing an amazing job at covering some of the areas you've seen support and resistance in the last couple of days. All right, so what do we have here? We got some comments over McDonald's ice cream and coffee. All right, yeah, that could be good. Let me see here. I definitely do not like McDonald's ice cream. No way. What time frames do we trade with? So I use the 5 and the 1 minute, right? The one and the 5 is what I use.
Still in business.
What was that? So
I don't know how McDonald's is still in business. Sorry, I'm just a grumbly old man over here.
No, man. Look, I'm with you. This is we have some time to talk about this. I actually looked this up as we were doing our thing because I see the comments on YouTube. Everybody's very interesting. And in our chat, man, look at the revenue on this thing. Just insane. I wouldn't consider Starbucks, a fast food, but I guess they are. McDonald's, you got McDonald's, you have Chipotle.
Now, that's worldwide, too.
It's worldwide.
I'm curious how that pans out U.S.-wise. I know they're still up there, but they're definitely not what they used to be.
Because I wouldn't consider some of these comparable to McDonald's. So we'll have to get a list. Let's get a better list. Somebody can get that list. We'll pull it up if we have time.
What do you mean?
Right. Oh, say again?
What do you mean you wouldn't compare them to McDonald's?
I'm saying I wouldn't compare like a Starbucks to like a McDonald's, right? So we need a kind of a better list of the fast foods that we're talking about. Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King. Burger King's still around. We'll see what happens. So here's Nvidia, guys. So Nvidia right now, we're crushing. What is the SPY doing? Are we pushing higher? SPY, yeah, SPY is trying to get going here. So that's looking pretty
Burger King's
good.
at Restaurant Brands International. They're on there.
They're on there. Oh, they have a different name. Oh, okay.
Well, they're owned by a company called Restaurant Brands International.
Ah, did not know that. There you go. So they're Canada. Okay, excellent. What we got? AMD. We got AMD here. AMD again reporting tonight. Tonight will be a whole lot of fun. Cannot wait to see how those earnings are going to affect AMD today. So we'll be on the lookout for that. 70.99 low of the pre-market. 69.02 is the level we have below that, and then right under that 67.53. So a couple of levels towards the bottom here, 3 so far, and then
Hit Tesla real quick.
towards the top. Yeah, what we got?
Go to Tesla real quick.
Yeah, yeah,
And you'll see what I'm talking about. On the level 2, give it a second. See
yeah.
these 165, you've got a bunch of orders. There's really not that many there. It'll sit here and it's burning through tens of thousands of shares, and the people are
Then they
just
get
replacing
slammed.
them on the ask. They don't want to show how much they're selling, but they're not letting it get above 165.
Yeah,
They'll only
yeah.
show about 1,000 at a time, which is nothing. So it's an
Yeah,
interesting.
it's interesting, man, the way this is
Yeah,
trading
it's
today.
very
Yeah,
interesting. At one point, I'm guessing it'll burn through that.
yeah. Well, you can
But
see
I'm just
here
watching it. It's
165.
capped. It looks like it's trying so hard to get through it.
Yeah, yeah. Eventually, when this person is done selling, you might get some kind of breakout here. But
Yeah.
man, they're selling every single time it comes up here. Look at this. That's interesting, man. There it is, you guys. More stuff coming in. Yeah, yeah. They're you're right, no. They're selling it in small pieces. Look at that too. Look at that.
They
Right
just
there.
keep
Big
reloading.
one.
I mean, they're not disclosing. In DAS, you can hide how many shares you're selling. They're not showing how many they have back there.
Yeah.
They're just
yeah.
letting them churn through.
Yeah. So in DAS, guys, for those that don't know, you can have it sit on the DAS servers before it's sent over.
Now
to,
they're showing. See,
yeah,
look.
there it is.
Now you've got
Yeah.
a big thing and it's being eaten through. Let's see if it pops after this. A
Yeah.
lot of times, once they get through their big
Once they're
chunk,
done.
they'll just throw up the remainder. Because I mean, 10,000 shares in reality isn't squat.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
a lot of shares for you or for me, but for somebody for a Wall Street, somebody ditching stuff, that's nothing.
That you're right. You're right. Interesting action on Tesla today, guys. So let's see that. Yeah, it looks like they might be getting through now. Let's see how that plays out. Yep. All right, we'll come back to that. AMD, guys, all set there. And last but not least, we have Apple on deck. So Apple pretty much doing whatever the overall market is doing. And then we have here 141, 43, 45 is the low of the pre-market, high of the pre-market, all the way up to 143, 63.
Got through all
They
that.
got through
and
it,
did
yeah.
nothing, and they just kept reloading. So.
Wow, it's going to be a fun morning on Tesla
Should
here.
be interesting. We'll see.
Yeah.
Their chart sucks now. Their pre-market is
Oh, yeah,
terrible.
it's-
That'll be gone by the market open, I would guess.
Yeah, yeah. They definitely messed up the pre-market action for today with that. As far as Apple, guys, you're all set. Highs and lows doing a good job, bottom and the top of the price at the moment. Again, just doing what the overall SPY is doing. So make sure you guys are watching the SPY and keeping track of what's happening here. If you see any big movements in one direction, just make sure that that's not affecting the trade you're in if you're in a trade already, or it can help you make a better decision if you want to jump into on a trade that you might be affected by the way the overall market is doing. And this has been again, I cannot remember a time where we but really focus on what the overall market is doing. It's been like that for a very, very long time. So not that you have to, right? There's things that do their own thing, like Tesla. Tesla does its own thing, right? But it does help to make better decisions to have that extra information. Anyone knows how to change or switch the MMI you see in the montage? There is a way to switch it. You could do a couple of settings here. We do have some videos in our education center on how to change this up a little bit. But yeah, I don't know how to do it. Okay, excellent. Anything else, guys? See Mike. We have Thor all set there with their list. Anything else that we should look at? News on GM? Yeah, GM is they had earnings. Plus they're look at that. It's got to be exciting if you like GM. Plus they're investing on LAC, which Wise LAC is on our list here. A couple of millions going to them on investing. So we'll see. Yeah, but GM taking off here again. I'm not a fan of the way this trades. So I'll be keeping it off my list. But if you do like GM, this could be on there.
I'm going to guess that's partly to blame why Tesla is down again this morning. I did
The GM's earning, right? Right.
Well, just EVs, the battle of the
Yeah.
EVs. That LAC is a investment in lithium, which you have to have for batteries,
Yeah.
which EVs take a lot of.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Adam, when I set my levels, when I set my level line on the one chart, it does not get set on the other charts. Oh yeah, it's not a problem. You got to turn on in your settings. You got to turn on display on all charts. It's like I forget the actual name on it, but there is a way to do that. So you got to display on all charts. If anybody has the exact name on how to do that, if you've done it recently, there's a way to do that. So when you put it on this chart, it appears in all of them. There you go. Global trend lines. That's the name. Thank you, Adam. Another Adam helping another Adam. So that's good.
Well, Carlos, let's get to that little 30-second minute long deal that we discussed yesterday.
Yes.
We're right here at the end, guys. This is
yeah. Let me read out these montages. Read out this watch list here for the team, and then guys, stick around. Over on YouTube, we're not finishing right after Norm and I. Brian is up next. I'm going to give you a moderators list, and then we have a quick short message for you guys. I don't want you to miss. We're going to play that video just shortly after this, and then Brian will be up next. Let me bring this over here. Here we go, my friends. All right, perfect. So we have Mike. We're looking at Amazon, Apple, and NVIDIA. Thor will be looking at GM, UPS, SPY, and the Qs. Megan will be looking at AMD and SPY. And then Susan will be taking a look at NVIDIA, Apple, and Tesla this morning. So all set there. Let's go ahead and play this little video message for you guys. And we will be right back.
Hi traders, do you want to know what it feels like to trade on a trading floor, trading with so many other traders?
Motivating, fun, amazing,
inspiring,
positive and fun.
Join me and our high-performing traders in San Diego this March 2nd and 3rd. This is a packed two-day event with proprietary strategies and advanced educations that we're teaching in Bearable Traders and Peak Capital Trading. Get your tickets now. The space is limited. See you in San Diego.
All right, guys. Thank you for that, Andrew. So, guys, more information on our website, bearabletraders.com. Right on the home page, you will see all the stuff that is available for you there. All right, guys. Brian is up next. We'll wait for Brian to get on the mic here. We'll switch over to him. And over on YouTube, guys, if you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up. We appreciate it very much. We're sitting at 145 likes. We'd love to get over 200. That is kind of like our goal there every day if we can do that. So if you could help us to do that, that would be amazing. And with that said, I think we're good to go here. Wait for Brian to make sure he's ready so we can switch over.
Somebody's asking if the tickets include accommodation. No, they do not, because there are some people that live there and don't need hotels, and there are some people that don't want to stay in the hotel we're staying in, whether they want to stay in a less expensive one or the Hotel Del Coronado. I don't know.
Del Coronado, man. Yes, yes, yes. All right, let's see here. All right, just 1 second, guys, as we transition here to Brian. Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate the support all the time. Daniel, thank you, guys. Here's Brian's list: Meta, NVIDIA, and Brian is on Tesla and Carvana. All right, guys, switching over to him. Give me a second to get his screen going, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Take care, guys. Trade safe.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Okay, so what do we got going on here? So let me just show you what I'm looking at here. Quickly. So I'm just looking here at trading terminal. Oh, there we go. There's Kim, who's going to be our one of our special guests. So just going through the list here, and just obviously go through these scabbers lists. And I'm just looking at how the market popped up. So we had a lot of few big earnings this morning. A couple of Dow stocks. UPS is up quite a bit. Don't like to let UPS just because it's got like about $1.50 spread right now on the bid and ask, so it's not really that attractive. Spotify is up quite a bit. Even Spotify doesn't have a great, it's got a pretty big spread between the bid and the ask right now. MXPI really turned on the jets around 8:30. Went green, and now it's dropping back into the red. Carvana, I actually bought some last night. Just a couple hundred shares, because I kind of figured, whatever's going on here, it's meme stock. I kind of figured they'd pop it up. So that was worth a couple hundred shares. Meta looks kind of interesting. It's popped up around 8:30. So Qs and the SPY are still rolling over, or starting to roll over a little bit now. We're green on all the indexes, but it looks like we might be heading back to the red. So I think today is going to be a bit of a might end up being a bit of a chop fest. I mean, we're going into the day kind of flat on the indexes. We've got obviously we've got the Fed in play. There'll be earnings rate raising the rates. We'll see. Everybody's expecting quarter point. I suspect that's what we will get, because Powell doesn't like to surprise. But I think the issue is going to be the comments after, and what he has to say about possible pivot or not. I kind of feel like he's going to be. I kind of feel like he's going to be kind of dovish, or not dovish, hawkish. Still a lot of fight to go here on the inflation. So we did get another bit of a positive news this morning. I guess there was a labor expense. Labor expenses came out again, 1.1 expected. 1% was the number, so just a slightly better number. Again, we'll just see how things are going to be really. I think things are going to be really volatile when he starts talking. So we'll see. But that's tomorrow, and this is today. So what else? AI is up quite a bit. Well, I didn't. MSGM was not that interesting. Let's take a look at it again. It's not really doing much. It's got a really low float. MSGM right here. Float is only 500,000 shares. That's super low. Why is MU down so much? No news on MU. So Brent oil down again today. Energy space down a bit today. Natural gas down again. Gold down a bit again. I'm still short some gold. Gold miners, I should say. I'm probably gonna go flat on. I'm probably gonna sell that today. Just because I don't like holding gold through a Fed talk. It tends to move really crazy depending on what they say. Okay, so I'm pretty much figured out. I think I'm going to Zoom. Let's just take a look at a few more things here. Zoom is back up again today. Yeah, Tesla is, I mean, Tesla's been, I've been trading this almost every day. It's not really doing anything today. Markets are up. It's down a little, but that doesn't mean anything for Tesla. NVIDIA kind of looks interesting. AMD is down a little bit. NVIDIA looks interesting. It sold off a lot yesterday. Sold off almost $10 yesterday. What's AMD doing? AMD's not doing anything to speak of. LAC is up quite a bit. Lithium Americas. So you have some of that in a swing account. Shop. What's Shop doing? 82. Yeah, Shop's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, Shop's kind of interesting. It's moving up here. Okay. Let's figure out what I'm going to watch here because we're getting down to the last 3 minutes. So we're just going to narrow down the watch list a bit. Boo-hoo. I am kind of struggling here. I'm not seeing much that I like. at this point. We have to wait to see what happens after we get after the open kicks in. I'm tempted to watch spot. Yeah, it is kind of a hangover day. Exactly, it's a bit of a hangover day, meaning that we had a big move yesterday, so you tend to get a little bit more chop at the a little bit more indecision in the following day. Markets are rolling over here. SPY, there the Qs are just about to go red. Tesla dropping a bit. Okay, so what I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna watch. I'm watching Tesla, Nvidia, Shop. So I kind of like the price action there, and I'm gonna watch Spot, SPOT, and I'm watching AI for fun. That's what I'm going to do here. So we're right at PDC on the Qs. AI's dropping. Yeah, I'm not really crazy as we're last minute here. I'm not really super crazy about anything. So we'll just have to wait and see what the market gods deliver here. I'm not sure if we're going to sign off with the. Are we signing off on YouTube? Maybe not. Yeah. So busy. Lot busy day today. So again, we're just gonna hold. We're just gonna watch the open here and just see what comes, because there's nothing that I'm really keen on. Oh, Tesla's dropping here, and Shop is popping. So here we go. Ding, ding, ding.